Hearthstone Global Games is an epic country versus country tournament where teams of 4 card slingers each clash for national pride. But in the end, the UK always wins.
Wait, everybody knows it's Germany always wins.
Aren't you Polish?
Is winning all that matters? It's all about fun and getting along with your teammates.
That's easy when their skills are legendary.
Or in this case, you have an ace player who will never let you down.
So we're gonna see the same old archetypes then?
No, every team needs to bring all 9 classes.
So we're gonna see Hunter?
I wonder.
So let's recap. It's 4 regions, 48 countries, but
Only one winner. Get ready
for the Hearthstone
Global Games.
Hello everyone and welcome to Hearthstone Global Games, day number 2 of week 5. We've got plenty more matches coming up for you today. I'm Raven and joining me, of course, is Falcon Punch. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. How are you doing, Raven?
Yeah, I'm good. Ready for some more matches today. We've got we had a bit of a crazy day yesterday. Some reverse kills as well in the team. So there's a lot of cool matchups there. Still seeing new decks as well come out, which has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's been a lot of different stuff in the Hearthstone Global Games. It's one of the best things, I think, about the tournament. Following Hungary specifically, things are going to start to settle down now, but we're still seeing a lot of innovation amongst the players.
Yeah, and just in case you don't know how Global Games works, we can just remind you of how the format is going to go and what's going on with this tournament overall. Stage 1, which is what we are currently halfway through, almost, where there's 8 groups of 6 teams each play in a round robin to try and make it out of their group onto Stage 2.
After that, 6 groups of 4 teams are going to take part in a 3-week round robin so that we can narrow things down further. And finally, Stage 3 is a 16-team single elimination. The top 4 teams are going to be joining us at a LAN finals.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome when that finals happens. Basically able to say you're the best country that plays Hearthstone in the world at this extent, or at least in this tournament. And there are 48 in total, so that's a wide selection of options we've had, and we've had the joy of casting so far. And also, you know, as we move into week 5, and as we've been looking at the groups yesterday, and we'll check them out today as well, is that we're getting to the point where certain matches like, oh, well, if they win, they're almost guaranteed through. If they lose, they're almost guaranteed out. So as we move on through week 5, everything's getting really down to the nail here.
And here we've got Group A. As you can see, Bulgaria leading up after their win yesterday. Morgalad doing the team proud, if you'll recall. Switzerland, though, at the bottom after their game yesterday, not looking so hot.
Yeah, 0-2 is going to be a big ask for those guys to actually try and qualify, but still doable. Whereas on to Group D, we have United States with their strong record of 3-0, 9-3 game record. Netherlands still hot on the tails there, and then the rest of the group, you know, bringing up the rear with Romania, 0-3, definitely not looking too great. I know RDU isn't too happy about how it's gone overall.
Still in with a chance.
Yeah, definitely. Whereas as we see Group C with Russia being quite dominant in the group, but other than that, there's still a lot to play for here.
We've got Austria and Argentina coming up later today. That will be coming up game 4, I think?
Game number 4.
Game number 4, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to check that out for game number 4 today. Group D, we have Hungary, South Korea, Slovakia, Greece, Portugal, and Hong Kong. With Hungary at the top, but only played 1 match, whereas Hong Kong at the bottom is 0-2. Everything still to play for, but there's still a few more matches coming up.
Yeah, and Hungary versus Portugal is actually the first game we've got coming up. So that 1-0 that Hungary's got's either going to become 2-0 or 1-1 very, very soon.
Yeah, and then Group E, Italy doing extremely well. You know, a bit of a surprise one for me at least. They're going 2-0 in groups, and Italy are going to be playing today in match 2. And then we see Chile at the bottom along with Norway, Japan. You know, this group is one of the groups that hasn't played too many matches, so you see a lot of 1-1s. You know, there's still a lot to play for here.
Canada, another dominant force in the Hearthstone Global Games. They're going to be playing their 3rd game later today versus Denmark, another one of the, I guess, better-known teams with a lot of very well-known players on.
Yeah, and with Canada, I think they'll be looking at keeping up with their, you know, their friends next door, the United States, because they're 3-0. But if Canada has another strong win, Canada will have the best record in the global games so far, at least. Turkey rocking the top of Group G, 2-0. Another team that's kind of, you know, sort of come out of nowhere to a certain extent and been performing very, very well.
We saw Vietnam versus Poland yesterday. Both teams which are looking pretty low down in this group at the moment. They're getting to the point where every game really is counting. If they don't start getting those wins soon, they're not going to make it out of the group.
Yeah, and I think how close all these groups are, you see, there's still more matches to be played, but with a lot of close matches, the game score is going to be very, very important. And now we see one of the groups with two of the most dominant teams overall, Ukraine and Czech Republic, both 3-0, and then there's the rest of the group. It's a little bit risky for all the others, pretty much playing for a third spot at this point.
And Germany versus Croatia is actually happening today. One of those teams is going to end today as 0-3. What a terrifying position to be in.
Yeah, I think the important thing as well is whichever of those teams goes 0-3, there are some 0-3s that you can, there is a way you can actually make it out of the group.
Yep.
But because they both are at the bottom of that group and they have such terrible game score, it means on tiebreakers, they're not really going to have the best chance at all. I think one of the groups was like 2-6 or 1-6 there, which is absolutely horrendous. So the win either needs to be great for one of these teams, but the loss is going to be absolutely horrendous overall.
All right, well, today's schedule, we've already been through a few of these games. Hungary versus Portugal coming up first, followed by Finland versus Italy. This is I'm really looking forward to today, Raven. There are a few games like Finland versus Italy I'm looking forward to. You and Lorinda are going to be bringing us Croatia versus Germany. That looks like a pretty big one. Yeah,
that's going to almost decide who's going to be knocked out, I think, first in HGG. I think looking at the game scores, as I said, is going to be kind of crazy. Then we're going to be following up with Argentina versus Austria, and then Canada versus Denmark at the end of the day. I feel like we always end on a high note with HGG. Canada again playing for their 3-0 point in the group as well to keep up with United States, as I mentioned before, but also Denmark, a very strong region in itself, not having the best opening in the world for the HGG performance.
No.
But if they take a win over Canada, suddenly that group, instead of being like two extreme ends, is going to be pushed a lot closer together.
Well, I think they'll have identical scores actually, or very, very close anyway. Canada being 2-1 and Denmark also, Denmark being 2-0 if they take.
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, it's just both very, very dominant forces. But let's not get too carried away. We've got a pretty good game coming up first. Hungary versus Portugal. Portugal, we've had a lot of exciting stuff happen with them behind the scenes. There was that first week that they did, which I believe me and Lorinda casted, where Ginger had spoken to both of us individually and said, yeah, we're going to win this game. There's no doubt we're going to win this game. They did win, but it was a reverse sweep. It got very, very close.
Yeah, and we did see them play against Greece last week as well. Very close series again, but they did end up on the losing end of that one. Whereas Hungary, they're currently 1-0 with a win versus Greece was their previous match. And, I've actually met Exego as well. He's a very strong player, very quiet guy, but a very strong player indeed. And, he's actually, for me at least, sort of leading the team to a certain extent overall. But we'll see what see lovely shots of Hungary and no doubt Portugal. There we go, coming up now. And Team Portugal, do you think they have the advantage here?
I think
if you had to
right, okay, I think they look at themselves as one of the alpha dogs of the group.
Yeah.
And Hungary, like you say, you met Exego, but I think generally, like lesser known players. Like with Portugal, we've got Ginger, we've got Ignite being one of the big ones as well. Like they will feel very much like they're confident. In fact, I spoke to Ginger earlier and he said to me, yep, we're ready to bounce back. We're feeling good. We're going to bounce back after our loss versus Greece. So I think I'd put my money on Portugal.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll see how it comes out. We've got the format up now so we can see all the players and how they're going to match up. It's a team best of 5 with each player bringing 2 classes. They can only pick one to play best of 1 against their opponent that's opposite them. So we're going to see Penhardani against Dr. Boom first, and it'll continue down this this graphic until their team has 3-0 or 3 points. Full stop. If it does go to 3-0, it will go to an ace match, and we can see Exego and Ignite are going to be the players there. So it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out.
Penhardani versus Dr. Boom coming up first there. Despite Dr. Boom's infamous name, I know he's not one of the biggest players in Portugal. In fact, I believe he is the one that needs this breakout performance more than any of the others. He's the smallest name, hasn't got any huge achievements to his name just yet, but Portugal doing well in the global games, that would be a pretty big achievement.
Yeah, we definitely set the opportunity for the big, well-known players to just continue to stamp their authority on the Hearthstone scene, but also just for the newer players to come out of the woodwork. Like I said, teams like like Turkey, teams like Italy that we just don't hear too much about have been performing very, very well indeed. So it's going to be a good one to see how this develops and what teams actually make it through the first cutting of stage 1 into stage 2, because I think that's the biggest deal. Once you get into stage 2, everything gets smaller, less games to play overall, so you can really narrow down your opposition and focus on them as opposed to being in quite a large group overall.
We're starting to get to the point, though, where these groups really are taking shape. And as we said earlier, Hungary 1-0 at the moment. Portugal 1-1. So if Hungary win, they're going to be feeling pretty good. But if they lose, they're going to be in Portugal's current spot. If Portugal lose, they're going to be in an even sadder spot with a 1-2 score.
Yeah, it all depends how the group looks as well, because with so many, 1-1s, 2-1s, there's still everything up for grabs. So even as we get to the last few weeks of the global games, we are going to see, some very, very decided matches basically. But we can see the players get ready now, and it is going to be actually Exego versus Ginger is the first match. We just got the names the wrong way around there. Sorry about that.
Shuffled themselves up.
Exactly. Yeah, it's still fine, but we are going to see the Rogue versus the Mage matchup with both Paladins not being played. Very, very interesting here. As Paladin one of the power classes at the moment.
Now, this is something you definitely wouldn't have seen a week or two ago, as Paladins really rose to dominance very, very fast. But over the last week, I'd say arguably the biggest thing that's changed in the meta, other than the addition of Secret Mage, is the fact that so many of the other classes have started running Hungry Crab.
Yep.
It's actually become a very prevalent card among the Legend rank, and as a result, Paladin is becoming lesser played. So the meta has been shifting in such a way where these other classes like Rogue and Mage have been played more, and I'm not too surprised to see these guys bringing them here to the global games instead of the Paladin.
Yeah, we can see the players just getting ready there. Ginger with Cereza next to him as well, and then we see Exego with his teammates all behind him. And just a note that all the teams are allowed to communicate, whether that's physically in person or across voice comms. So it's completely fair, 4v4 every single game, but there's going to be only one player. The player name you see on the screen will be piloting the deck, and that's where all the pressure lies, to be honest. It's great playing as a 4, a lot of ideas, a lot of suggestions for best plays, but if you're the one who has the pressure of, well, the rope's burning, I need to physically make this turn happen, or I could lose as the game. Yeah,
exactly. Just the way that you handle the mouse in that position is very, very important. Maybe the correct play is to say, hey, everyone, shut up, I'm making the play. Maybe that's wrong. If you don't do that, though, sometimes you'll start making half a turn. Someone will say, oh, no, attack that with that. Make this trade, make that trade. You'll do the wrong one entirely and completely mess up. Yeah. So it's a scary position to be in, much less pressure, just as you said, just being on the other end, just talking.
Yeah, communication is going to be key as we go through these games. And like you mentioned about the Murlocs style of the Paladin and the Crabs, Rogue especially has been playing Hungry Crab. We've seen we've seen multiple matches in global games so far where there's been like, Hungry Crab when I'm playing Quest Rogue.
Then
bounce. Yeah. Just like kill a Murloc, bounce, kill a Murloc, bounce, kill a Murloc, and suddenly the quest done, you win the game, because you just don't let the Paladin get on the board.
And it's a big deal as well, because Rogue would generally lose to an aggressive Paladin, but having cards like Hungry Crab, Glacier Shard, that sort of thing would switch the matchup over. Now, I mentioned Secret Mage just a few minutes ago, and here's Ginger bringing it, I think, for the first time this week.
Yeah, I believe this is the first Secret Mage we've actually seen be played. There might have been, submissions of Secret Mage, but it wasn't chosen yesterday. But yeah, Hungary versus Portugal, Exego versus Ginger, Quest Rogue versus Secret Mage, and we'll see how this Secret Mage performs, because there's been a lot of discussion about this deck, right? It's one of the newer archetypes that's come out in the past week or so, and some people have played it some great success. A lot of pros and a lot of people just think it's bad as well.
It's one of the least defined, or refined, rather. Yeah. It's one of the least refined decks at the moment. People are playing it...
It is defined. It's Secret Mage.
It is defined. It's not refined. People are playing it in very different forms. Like, which are the correct secrets to include? That's something people have been debating on. Some people have been playing Spellbender, a card that you never thought you'd see actually put in a deck for such a long period of time. Some people have been playing it closer to Discover Mage, a more slow style.
Yeah. And Spellbender actually just really good versus Paladin. It just always gets value.
Yeah.
Because there's very few cards that even, there's no aggressive spell cards that you target anything with, and the ones you do target minions with are always buffs, which you end up stealing, like Spite Ridge Steed. But less about Paladin, more about Mage and Quest Rogue.
Yeah, we need to point out the elephant in the room straight away, and that's that there's a counter spell in Ginger's hand.
Yeah.
Now, you wouldn't expect to see a player of Exego's caliber fall for this, but it is possible that a certain quest reward gets just cancelled entirely.
Yeah, the quest, the actual spell that the quest gives you that makes your minions 5/5 for the rest of the game is a spell, so it can be counterspelled. The strange thing, I think, is, as you said, the seconds you start seeing secrets, although to be fair, this whole deck could be Discover Mage from Exego's and Hungary's point of view.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, there's nothing yet that sticks out as anything that wouldn't be a Discover Mage list. But once that is realized, then the real issue is not whether, whether you play into counterspell with the quest. It's how do you proc counterspell without using the quest, because shadow steps are a nightmare. Counterspelling vanish is a nightmare, not because you care about the vanish, but because it's 6 mana. The only card in most lists that I've seen is doable is the prep. Actually, you just blow prep. You can say 0 mana on a card, counterspell, then just play the quest.
Because they don't usually run backstab anymore or anything.
Or reverse.
I'm wondering if there's any scenario in which Portugal decide to play it really sneakily, don't reveal the fact that they're secret mage, put the counter spell down before the quest is due to be complete, and just let Hungary assume it's an ice block or ice barrier.
Yeah, that could definitely happen here, because so far, hey, Medivh Valley.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in every mage deck. It's a good card.
And what do they do next turn? Probably, well, they probably just play the counter spell next turn, actually.
Maybe. Mimic Pod is another card you could use to do the counter spell, but the problem with Mimic Pod is that it's actually often than not higher value than prep.
Yeah.
Most of the time, because it draws.
Oh.
Well, now he's got a spare. They just play with 3 Mimic Pods in the deck.
Yeah. It's not possible that the next draw is also a Mimic Pod. Things could get a little bit out of control there. That's probably the play this turn.
Well, not if you want to juke your opponent, right? If you want to make him think you're not secret mage, then Apprentice needs to stay in hand.
So the question that Portugal are going to have to ask themselves is it worth it? Do they need the tempo, or would they rather try and play these mind games?
Well, the real option they've got, or the general way you'd play this matchup, Secret Mage is normally a very aggressive deck, and Quest Rogue is weak to aggressive decks. So I wouldn't even mind the Sorcerer's Apprentice into coin counterspell here with the mirror image as well, and just go hard.
Yeah.
Because also you're like, how do you stop the quest being played? You can counterspell it, or you can just kill your opponent before they can even play it anyway. There's no minions that have been played yet anyway for Hungary and for Exego. You're already pushing 5 damage next turn at least, and look at what the hand tells us for Portugal. Frostbolt, Fireball, Violence.
That's a bit of burn, that.
Get him.
Yeah. I think that there definitely can be an argument to be made for playing the sneaky game, pretending that you're a Discover Mage, but you're absolutely right. That turn was just too good. 3 mana, and look at this board.
Yep.
Plus the secret. Now Exego has to play around it. They have got the Mimic Pods, as you said. That's probably going to be the best bet.
Well, they can't Mimic Pod this turn, right? Because they want to bounce the Firefly.
Yeah, well, you'd Mimic Pod and then potentially Shadow Step.
Sure. That's what you can think about.
Or do they want to proc the counterspell with the Shadow Step? How do they want to test for it?
It's
they
tough.
They know that it's not Mirror Entity because they only just play the Firefly. So they're going to expect counterspell.
Well, the list still run Ice Block, right?
Yeah.
So the list often run Ice Block, maybe even an Ice Barrier, but that's nowhere near as common. But yeah, it's just going to go for the Brewmaster, bounce the Firefly back into hand.
Okay.
Right, just get something onto the board, because they just can't die to this aggression. What this does here is just, you're going to be playing the Flame Elemental anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't have to wait till the turn before you proc the quest, play them all, and then go quest. You can actually just use the Flame Elementals to start battling for the board. Blizzard, not a bad pickup at all. Violence Portal's
pretty good too. You know, Primordial Glyph is even more ridiculous than it already is with Sorcerer's Apprentice, because the glyph itself gets a discount, and then the card you get from it also gets a discount. So you can actually really cheat mana and play cards even earlier than you were supposed to.
Yep. So this Ice Barrier could just be free, for example.
Yeah, it would be.
If Ginger really wants it. I do like the Firelands, though.
Firelands would be 1 mana off, unfortunately, but I agree. I think it's the pick without a doubt.
It's just because you can go 5 mana Firelands, 6 mana Fireball Ping, 7 mana Firelands.
Yeah.
Like, that is a lot of pressure. And already, I imagine Ginger and Cereza and the rest of Team Portugal, of course, are going to be saying, okay, how many turns? How many turns is he dead? Rogue has damage permanence, right?
Yeah.
You deal damage to a rogue, they do not heal back up. So any damage you do, sticks until the end of the game, until it's over one way or the other.
Playing it carefully though, dealing with the board, frostbolting one minion, trading with the other, it makes a lot of sense because if they can protect the Sorcerer's Apprentice and the Medivh's Valet, then that's just 5 extra damage that could essentially go face every single turn.
Well, that's it. You trade in a Frostbolt to then hit again with Sorcerer's Apprentice. So it's the same amount of damage, except the minion's more valuable because it can potentially hit again, and also it reduces the spells, like you said.
Which is really paying off for Team Portugal this turn. Once again, they used all of their mana last turn very efficiently. They're getting a lot put onto the board. They've got the secret down. They've got a very high value hand here. I mean, this for Discover Mage, for Secret Mage, for whatever, this is an awesome hand if you're the mage.
So, Exego here, just 1 out of 4 so far on the proc. It does have the Firefly in hand to going up to 2, of course, but that's still quite a way away. There is the Ferryman and Brewmaster and Shadow Step, so this can be done very, very quickly indeed. But it's still going to take a turn or two to really get going. Then you have to still get through the mirror images. There's the counterspell on the Shadow Step. So one of the safer cards as well, Prep, Shadow Step. You just don't want to do anything that's either 2 value or the quest itself.
Yeah, so okay, 2 out of 4 now, as we can see. It's not going to take Hungary long to complete the quest, just as you said, but it's going to take them a lot longer to actually get stuff on the board. It's not like they can go, right, quest complete, now deck hand, here comes patches, trade, Balefin, put a baton. They're a long way off of actually doing that, and as Ginger picks up Arcane Intellect now, his hand was already looking pretty solid, and now when it runs dry, he's going to get even more stuff. I agree with you. I think Face is going to start to be the place right now.
Face is always the place as far as I'm concerned. There was an option there to go for Arcane Intellect and Fireball and just see what you draw as well, because you never know. But yeah, just what the Finland's portal does is, one, just put a very aggressive front to your opponent and develop the board behind these 2 mirror images, because looking at this board now, Dinger's probably thinking like, oh, if I go aggressive, I have enough burn to win. But if I go aggressive, I leave his minions to trade these mirror images out, and then he can access my minions. So if I use Finland's portal, this puts a 3rd, probably decent-sized minion onto the board, and Rogue isn't good at removal. Not Quest Rogue, right? Outside of Vanish,
outside
we might even see.
Just picked up a 2nd copy of.
Yeah, we might even see Vanish, but outside of that, you can't really remove stuff as Rogue unless you have the quest live.
And it's fine though. I agree with with Ginger going the face there, because even if there is a Vanish, who cares? Okay, he gets a Brewmaster back, he gets a 1/2 back. Yeah, quest's going to be complete soon, but by that point, you're already going to have won the game.
And there's Arcane Intellect for, 2nd Fireball, and the Firelins, and the Frostbolt. A lot of options here.
Look how much work that Sorcerer's Apprentice has done this game. It's not a card that's seen in Discover Mage at all. It's actually surprising when you look back at how little Sorcerer's Apprentice has been played since Ngaro until this deck.
Yeah. It's because a lot of the decks don't do... like, Freeze Mage would never play it because the setup is very straightforward. And then because Discover Mage came to be, you're not doing any combos with Discover Mage.
Really
the cards are very just straightforward.
Doesn't really care about tempo until you've got Medivh down, and then it's like late game tempo. Boom.
It's an anti-Medivh card, Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Right. Okay. Face is definitely the place.
Job's done. There we go. Fireball, gonna put Hungary onto 8. There's Violence Paul already for 5 damage, plus a minion. So this is a big ask now for Hungary and Exego onto what exactly they're going to do to deal with this, because this is one of the weaknesses of this deck. You can just get aggroed down very hard, and unless you've got really great answers, you just can't deal with it, and it doesn't matter that you've got 5/5s, your opponent just kills you that turn anyway.
Yeah, this is just one of the weaknesses of Rogue, as you were saying. No healing. They can take Voodoo Doctors in, but it makes the rest of the deck weaker, so we haven't seen that tech in quite a while. 2nd Vanish is a little bit annoying for Portugal.
I think they're okay with it.
It's one more turn that they can't kill Hungary, but big deal. Hungary aren't making much progress in the meantime anyway.
Well, Vanish is the top of the curve in the Quest Rogue deck, and if they're spending all of their turn almost just playing 1 card and giving you back yours, great.
That's the 3rd Firefly. So still haven't completed the quest. And I think when you're a rogue playing against an aggressive mage, it's turn 7 and you still haven't completed the quest, it's pretty obvious that you're in a bad position.
Yeah, and what we're going to see here, if you look at this hand, this is a win for Ginger here. But what you're going to see is, instead of just going Firelands, then going Ice Block into Medivh Valet, you Ice Block now, one, because there's the love hearts from the guys. You Ice Block now to remove all out. There is no way you lose this game now, because there is just a niggling part, like a tiniest percentage, where Hungary go like prep, quest, charge, shadow step, charge, you know what I mean, and potentially do 30 damage. So Ginger and Team Portugal are just removing this potential, getting the ice block, getting the 3 damage from the Mideast Valley, put him to 5, and guess what? Violence Portal does 5 damage.
Yeah, I doubt that Team Hungary are even going to be the slightest bit surprised by the fact that there is a setup lethal. It's what mages have become very, very good at. It's probably their main trait since Ngoro. That's what they do. They create, they solve these lethal puzzles. They work out how they can get there in 1, 2, sometimes even 3 or 4 turns time without dying.
But most importantly, what's the minion that comes off? Oh, Abomination. Okay, well,
high fives all around.
That is the win for Portugal into game 1 versus Hungary. Very convincing as well, and I feel like Ginger got a really good side of that matchup. Going against the Quest Rogue means that you can go highly, highly aggressive and just pip him at the post, really. They can't really do much, and yeah, it's just a solid game all around.
Yeah, I would say that one's pretty favored for the mage, just looking at the matchup in general. Counterspell, as we talked at length about, is just so strong against the rogue. Every single spell is important. I agree, I think preparation is the least important of the spells. If that one gets counterspelled, then it's not a big deal. But the others, Vanish, the Quest, yeah, it sucks for the rogue.
And we can see the next game coming up now, and hey-ho, we've got a Warlock.
What is that class?
It's the new one, the magical 9th class called Warlock, or Gul'dan, depending on you know, if you're going to roleplay or not.
I don't recognize it.
Okay.
It's not like it was completely dominant for over 2 years or anything. I just don't recognize that class.
Well, you may have heard of a deck called Zoo that class used to play, but it's going to be against Cereza onto the Druid, and you know, Portugal must be feeling pretty good to get that first win under their belt, because the series last week against Greece, so one is, you know, a bit of a, not a grudge match in a mean sense, but friendly rivalry between Portugal and Greece for a start, and they did lose that in a very, very close series indeed. And you know, the 1-1, they did get the win versus Hong Kong, so it means that, as you said earlier, if they can just beat out Hungary 1, they actually remove a potential win from a team that's 1-0 in their group, and also propel themselves forward after an unfortunate loss to Greece.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting when you look at the intricacies of the bracket like that. I just want to touch upon something that we just saw about this matchup. It's that neither player picked Warrior. So we've had one game where neither players picked Paladin, and one game where neither players picked Warrior, which is sort of another surprise based on how the Hearthstone meta has been in the last 5 months.
The winds are changing, but to be fair, we've seen a lot of decks being teched with you know, crabs of either way, whether you want to kill the Murlocs or the Pirates, and also because of the power of a deck like, or class should I say, like Warrior, with either Pirates or the Taunt Warrior, you start to become quite predictable if you're just going to play, you know, jam the Warrior every single match.
That's true.
And we've seen players mess around, flick from Pirate to Taunt, for example, but it's still kind of predictable, right? That you, oh, they're going to be playing Warrior, definitely. We have to think about, can every single person that's bringing, you know, every single person with 2 classes each, can one of them beat Warrior? Because that's what you've got to think about.
I can tell you what's not predictable, and that's Zulok, which is very clearly being displayed in front of us right here. Zulok versus Jade Druid. I can't even say that I've seen this matchup recently. Have you?
I don't think anyone's seen a Warlock matchup at all recently, outside of Wild anyway. But Zoo has historically been strong versus Druid because they build an awkward board with high health minions that Druid can't really deal with. But I feel like more and more now, Druid has become very, very capable at dealing with a deck like this because they've had to be, right? Druid, they got the late game when it's Jade Druid. The late game's covered. It's the early game they have to worry about losing to. But Tar Creeper is a card. Scales is a card, and both of these are the key cards that I think have been pushed this Jade Druid deck to almost dominance at the moment in the meta.
Well, there's one that you missed, and that's the mid to late game card, Primordial Drake.
It's also a pretty good card, I'll give you that.
Just giving Druid an extra board clear, which they've always struggled on. They have Swipe, and that's it. That's not even a board clear, really, unless you've got Thanos on the board. But Primordial Drake deals 2 damage to everything, and is probably a pretty good card against Zoo, thinking about it.
It's probably pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
So, looking at the opening hand, though, Hungary are looking pretty good with double Firefly.
Look at that card.
Malcazar's Imp.
And that card showing up in every deck ever now. Okay, that's slight exaggeration, but you'll be lying if you tell me that you haven't seen Firefly appear in a lot of different classes.
Yeah, well, Mainly down to two things. The shape of it as a 1-2, it's just good to fight for board early on. And also, if I told you, okay, there's a card that you can put in your deck that when you play it, it puts a copy of itself in its hand. Almost, without the battle cry, of course. But, you know, it puts like a blank copy of it in your hand for free. Yeah, I'd probably play that card.
Sure. It was probably overlooked a little bit just because it's a 1-2, a 1-mana 1-2, which has historically been a pretty poor body. That being said, we lived in an age of Pirate Warrior having a lot of 1-1s, which makes the 1-2 body better. And as you say, it's 2 cards for the price of 1. It's a 1-drop or a 2-drop.
Yeah.
And you can spread it about when you play it. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Firefly does like going about a little bit. And it's going to be a very straightforward clear onto this Flame Imp, nothing too fancy. But the key for Firefly as well is because even in more mid-range or control decks, if you're playing anything that wants to buff, hence why it can be good in Aggro Druid, can be good in Shaman, can be good in Zoolock, because they're all decks that benefit from having dudes on the board. It doesn't really matter how big they are, you just want stuff to stick. But this Druid of the Claw, now swipe, Wrath, and innovate with Feral Rage hand here for Cereza. This is all the stuff you actually want versus Zoo early on. So they've seen, both players have actually got the good end of the stick here in terms of hands.
No Tar Creeper, which is what you described, which would have been a great card against Zoo as well. But this seems perfectly fine. A lot of choices that Cereza could make here. He could innovate out Druid of the Claw, or he could play Feral Rage and just deal with Knife Juggler, or just Wrath something. I quite like the look of Druid of the Claw here, although you're then worrying a little bit about your hand size.
Yeah, I think if you innovate Druid of the Claw, do you actually just like it in charge?
Yeah, I think so. Just to get rid of Knife Juggler. Yeah.
If you charge it, then you're asking Hungary to deal 1 extra damage plus the Firefly that's on the board.
Then again, a Power Overwhelming doesn't exist anymore. And without Power Overwhelming...
Juggles do.
Juggles do?
That's the bad part, right?
How worried are you about the Juggles?
Well, you know there's at least 1 drop in the hand.
Cereza is not worried about the Juggles.
Cereza just doesn't worry about anything. He's a very happy guy.
I like this play a lot. I think, yeah, back when Power Overwhelming was a thing, you don't play a 4-6 when there's 2-2s on the board, but this is okay. Yeah, there are going to be several 1-drops in the hand. Cereza knows to expect at least 2 of them. Oh no, he doesn't. Now he knows that there's at least 2 more. But, okay, 1 just hit it. Now I'm scared.
Well, what the Druid of the Claw did do was that if it actually survives and doesn't get traded into nicely, it propels Cereza even further forward into the game, right? Whereas the Druid of the Claw in charge, you kill the Knife Juggler, but you're very susceptible to it just dying anyway.
Oh, doesn't that swipe look below average here? This is, again, the power of the 1-2s. Swipe just does very, very little to this board. May as well just Wrath the Knife Juggler.
But this is fine. Like, Swipe, I've seen more and more be used to actually deal with cards like Councilman, like the Pterodax potentially. You know, like the actual threats to help deal with a Doom Guard that's maybe traded into a minion. That's what you're really using Swipe for here. I think long gone are the days of Zoo minions all being 1-1s. Imp Gang Boss, gone. Implosion, long gone, you know.
Speaking of the Pterodax, this looks pretty strong. Do you think we have a 4-mana 7/7 incoming?
Maybe. Or even, I really like the 4/7 Divine Shield option. It is really cool. Obviously, attack and Wind Fury, awesome, but
maybe
not when the minion dies straight away isn't great.
Death Rattle seems good. Health seems good.
I do like health, yeah. Health always feels great. Also, look at the hand for Xair. Double Argus. Yes, you want health on a minion. You know, like you can go really, really big with this Pterodax.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the worst class in the game right now, and look at it go.
It's not doing too bad.
No.
I think of options here. I think Cereza will want to just clear the 1-2s off and isolate the 4/7 onto the board, because there's no nice way to deal with this at all this turn without just throwing away the Druid of the Claw. You may as well get value. But it looks like it's just going to go for the Nourish. I wonder if it's going to go for ramp or draw. Bear in mind, this is a Jade Druid that hasn't played any Jades yet or any ramp yet.
Yeah, it looks like he has to go for the draw just because his hand is so...
One-dimensional.
Yeah, let's go one-dimensional. It's all about clearing the board, and nothing actually really clears with the Ravenous Pterodax. Doomguard picked up on the other side. That's not actually good enough right now.
It's fantastic next turn.
It's great soon, like if you can get Malchezaar's Imp down, especially.
Well, this turn you could just defend of Argus with the Imp and the Pterodax, or with the 1-2 and the Imp, trade the Pterodax in anyway. The Pterodax is alive. You taunt up the 2 smaller minions, but the there is a consideration to hide the imp behind the taunt.
That's what I'd do.
So then Doomguard will get double discard next turn and draw you 2 cards, which is a very, very powerful play indeed.
Yeah, it's really strong. Sure, you're sacrificing the other defender of Argus. Big deal. You get 2 more cards, potentially another Soulfire. When Malcazar's imp sticks to the board...
It might stink as well.
It might stink. Stinks to the boards. It really does some work.
Yep. And it's one of those awkward cards. I liken it to Flame Tongue Totem, for example. It's not really doing anything as a minion, except its effect is so strong. And it does look like Hungary are going to protect the Malcazar's imp here. He could play it next turn as well, but this is just mana inefficient, right? You know, you can just get it down now, get a little bit of an attack in as well. So this is looking really, really nice. Going wide on the board for Xer. Still has the Death Rattle on the Pterodax that's going to summon 2/1/1 plants after it dies.
It's just such a strong play. You're sort of playing around everything as well, because Swipe, okay, it does with 1 minion. If you lose the Malcazar's imp, big deal. You've still got a huge board. You've still got Doomguard coming down. There's no way you lose more than 2 minions at the very most, and the preparation that's gone into this Doomguard just makes the card absurdly strong.
Well, Swipe at maximum removes 3 damage from this board. That's it.
Yeah,
because of the tokens, and it doesn't kill any other minion. It looks like Cereza is deciding to use this second Nourish for ramp. Don't blame him. He needs to hit a turn where he does something crazy. You know, makes a huge impact. And with 6 mana this turn, Swipe Hero Power does nothing. Swipe Wild Growth still does nothing. He couldn't really double Feral Rage this turn, as it wouldn't really make any dramatic effect anyway.
He could do with picking up an Innovate just so that he can get this Gadgetzan Auctioneer going, because that could be one of the relevant cards. If he next turn could get Gadgetzan Auctioneer, Innovate, Swipe, and then maybe fit something else in as well, then he's starting to get off the ground a little bit. Also, getting closer to 10 mana is always good, because Jade Druids have been running Yogg-Saron. We saw it yesterday, we saw it last week, and that may be something that Cereza's thinking. I need to get to 10 mana in case I draw the Yogg-Saron.
Yeah, this is huge as well. There is a choice of going Argus with Runt here instead, but what Doomguard does is it puts your opponent on 5.
Yep.
Total. You draw 2 cards, which is great. One of them might be a 1-drop, so you can continue onto the board anyway. But also, Druid doesn't play Mulch because it can't anymore. How does it actually deal with this Doomguard? The way it normally happens, Doomguard trades into a minion, Druid of the Claw, for example, or a Jade. Then you can swipe it, wrath it to finish it off. This is a full health Doomguard and a wide board. Cereza's in trouble.
Okay, so what are his outs here? He's got Gadgetzan Auctioneer and double Earthen Scales to gain 9 armor. That doesn't look like enough to me.
It'll be 10, right?
Oh yeah, sorry, it'd be 11. It'd be 5 plus 6, 11.
Yeah, that's what I
was way off. He's got the Feral Rage, maybe plus a Swipe, which removes some damage off the board, gains 8 armor, but he's not making any progress. That Doomguard's going to stick around and continue to smack him in the face.
Yeah, I just don't think it matters anymore, to be honest. He can gain armor, but it'll just be, whichever way he chooses to gain the armor, he'll be so far behind anyway. There is, what, 7, 9, 12 power on the board, so he could gain 11, go up to 16. But so what? You back down to like 6 or 5 again anyway, so depending on what happens with this juggler. So it just doesn't really do much. You can just put you in the same position next turn, and there would have to be a Volcanic Drake draw? That would be the only thing that would keep him in it here.
Well, he's making the play. It did look for a second there like he was trying to swipe his own face, but he's not able to do that, so ends up on 14 health with 8 damage, staring him down on the board. So not out just yet. Oh. Doesn't really want to see another one of those, though.
Yeah, especially when there's just the Defender of Argus that it can chomp on. The Pterodax needs to kill a minion, a friendly minion that is, to get double adapt. Just in case you viewers at home haven't seen Warlock for the longest time.
Why are so many cards in Hearthstone themed around eating each other nowadays?
Are they?
Just you saying chomped on made me think of it, like all of the crabs. Maybe it's just the crabs. There's a lot of eating in Hearthstone.
It's going to be a social eating game soon.
Getting pretty hungry.
Oh, just Doomguard. That's 1 off, right?
Yep. Yep, that's almost it. Now, do you ever consider playing around Yogg-Saron if you're Exile here?
No. You just slam Doomguard, discard the Silverware Golem like a boss. There you go. Put so much pressure on the board. Put your opponent to 1, and, what is he realistically going to do?
Yeah. Well, again, that's the one thing I'd consider Yogg-Saron. If Yogg-Saron just played Flame Strike.
Has there even been that many spells? There's been like 4?
Yeah, there's not been many.
Second swipe, not going to do it. And it looks like Team Portugal are going to fall to Zoo here, as this is going to be plus 11 armor, but it's just not going to be enough. So it's going to be relying on an Innovate to do something else here. Maybe Innovate swipe.
A Wrath wouldn't be enough either. Primordial Drake is not going to do it. He gets to draw 3 more cards, but I heard a job's done. I think that means that Cereza ran out of things to play. That
does indeed. Second Gadgets and Auctioneer. Not going to do it along with those Jade Spirits in. Cereza just played a game of Jade Druid without playing a single Jade, and he went to turn 10.
He played one.
Did he?
On turn 1, he played a Jade Idol. Yep.
Ah, okay. Okay, one single Jade. But congratulations to Hungary, going to be evening it up now versus Portugal with that Zoo list as well. You know, both players, as you said, not picking Warrior, but Zoo beating out the Jade Druid. So it's kind of, I feel like we've gone back in time. Zoo beating up Druid.
Yeah, well, we talked a bit yesterday about Zoo and how you can kind of put it in and your opponent will assume you're not playing it, and then maybe the Zoo deck counters whatever they play as a result. You certainly can make use of Zoo with mind games. Hungary have just experienced that firsthand. Moving on to the next game, Penadani is going to be playing Druid versus Dr. Boom's Priest.
Yeah, it's going to be another... It's the big question. I feel like the Druid is almost the biggest question of Jade or aggro, because they do very, very, very different things. Similar to Warrior, I suppose, but the Priest list is always the most interesting to me. I'm still trying to discover what Priest should actually look like at the moment.
Discover Priest, was that a hint? Is that what Priest should look like?
There you go, it's Discover Priest. I've let my secrets out.
Put some Cabal Couriers in there, and then... Oh, there you go.
Yeah, why not? Why not? But I've seen Silence Priest is, I think, really climbing up the ranks. I think Osaka hit rank 1 with Silence Priest recently.
Yeah, I think so.
So, you know, it wouldn't surprise me too much if that's the list.
Actually.
Was it last night?
I think so.
Very recently then. Look at this up-to-date news.
I saw a tweet at some point.
Oh, God. The tweet was like 5 days ago.
Yeah. Hopefully not.
In case you missed it, 5 days ago, Osaka hit Legend. Exactly. So... But we've seen many, many different versions of Priest. Dragon Priest being, I think, the most popular overall.
We've seen a lot of Dragon Priest. That's really, we talked about this again yesterday. Like, it seemed to be the first few days of the expansion, someone went, oh, Dragon Priest is pretty good still. Played it a bunch. Then it died down slowly as people tried out Free from Amber and the Lyra Miracle list. And then again, now people are saying, yeah, Dragon Priest's still pretty good with Lyra, and you can shove a Divine Spirit in and do some pretty incredible things with it. So Dragon Priest is back in town. Silence Priest, as Raven just said, a very, very strong deck. It could be anything.
Good. It will be something.
That's really helpful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is going to be Dragon Priest, as we can see going on here. So not looking too bad, although I can see a vicious fledgling here for Penadani. And if there's an Innovate, that's one of, if not the strongest opening that Druid can even do.
In my experience, people concede the most on turn 1 to Innovate Fletchling.
The only difference is that Priest could have Shadowed Pain.
And Death. For when the Fletchling buffs itself,
Because the idea with Fledgling is when it attacks, it actually gains, if it hits face, it gains Adapt. And the biggest trick is you attack and you always adapt if you have the choice into Wind Fury, because you can attack again, then adapt again the second time.
The thing that Fletchling can do, which can completely mess up Priest, is cannot be targeted. And then, oh,
that's true.
Shadowed Pain, Shadowed Death, all useless.
Just wait till turn 6, Bookworm. Get him. Okay, so we're going to check out how this starts now. I think I saw a Chanted Raven, in the board. Yeah,
saw a Raven or two.
Yeah, perked up a little bit there. And double Fledgling in the hand. So even if the first one's dealt with, the second one is a huge threat.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Hungary that they didn't have the coin, they didn't have an Innovate, they didn't have any way of pushing out the Fledgling early. But they're not going to be complaining. They've got Blood Cell Corsair ready to pull out patches on demand. Living Mana is a great card for them to restock on turn 5. Once they've just blown away their whole hand, they just take over the board and say, hey, Priest, deal with this or you lose.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things here with this turn. The hero power into the Cleric. One, you don't want the Cleric to live ever. Also, it could have been Blood Cell Corsair into the patches, but then what that means is the Corsair lives, and you, as an aggro deck versus Priest, you have to be constantly aware of Potion of Madness, because if you lose 2 minions to Potion of Madness for 1 mana for the Priest, you're in a great deal of trouble.
Dr. Boom just picking up a Shadowed Pain there off of the Shadow Visions. Very, very well timed there. The Shadowed Pain is just going to instantly get rid of the Vicious Fledgling. I don't think there's any world in which you consider just leaving that to wreak havoc. Though the second one may take Dr. Boom by surprise.
Yeah, I think the second one you probably comfortable because you can just drop Twilight Drake and just say, okay, this fledgling might hit me for 6.
Yeah.
No.
There are still some wonky things that the fletchling can do, though. As you said, first you Wind Fury, but then if you can Wind Fury and then Stealth, then the next turn you could maybe gain some attack in the first hit and then Stealth on the second, and that thing can be unstoppable. AoE will always stop it as long as it's got 5 or less attack.
Why you get plus health?
We're looking at the Dragonfire Potion and hoping that the fletchling doesn't get too out of control before that comes down.
This turn here for Hungary looks... there's a couple of options, though. There is the fledgling, or you could go into the Corsair Crab into Power of the Wild, or there's a mixture between the both, and you can go halfway in between and save the Power of the Wild for a big buff turn. And here we go. What is going to happen here? Dr. Boom. The Twilight Drake just looks fine.
Yeah.
Just put a big dude on the board. He can start hitting the major threats from the Druid, whereas you try and just hold out for the Dragonfire Potion to clear the board once. But for Penadani, we can see Living Mana in the hand as well. So once that board's cleared once, Living Mana comes down and you go, okay, well, can you clear it again? Because if not, you're in the same kind of boat.
Yeah, this gets really scary for the Priest, because Druids also have 4 copies of cards that buff all of their minions. They've got double Mark of the Lotus, double Power of the Wild, and then Savage Roar, and any of the other stuff. I've even seen some people playing Evolving Spores.
Yes.
It's not as common, but you want to start clearing things. You really need to start clearing things, because double Power of the Wild next turn plus Mark of the Lotus is a possibility. And what does that board look like after that play?
Scary, that's one.
Yeah.
Very scary.
It looks scary.
Yeah, the Spores is one of those weird cards where you don't see it commonly, but when you do, you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Please, you look at either Wind Fury across all minions or plus attack, and you just die. Very, very scary indeed. They'd go with the Priest of the Feast, and what this does is kind of gives the incentive to Hungary to try and kill it. Because if you leave it alive, there could be face damage that just gets healed back up again.
Yeah, even though... So the Priest of the Feast sort of has this pseudo-taunt, though I don't think I've ever seen a vicious fletchling hit a minion that has pseudo-taunt. It's one of the only...
a vicious fledgling hit a minion.
Yeah, well, it hits a minion that's got proper taunts.
No,
sometimes.
you just don't attack.
But it's
you just don't trade in.
Okay. It's one of the only minions that just never hits a minion.
So Wind Fury Stealth or Wind Fury plus attack would be great here. Insta plus 3, okay. So Wind Fury wasn't an option. We didn't quite see the options there because that was a lightning pick. Well, but Wind Fury is always taken no matter what if it's offered.
Now Dragonfire Potion not quite going to do it. Because Hungary made the trades, Portugal's going to have to work really hard. It's a 4/7. It's got 4 attack. 4 attack, Raven.
Well,
4 attack.
Don't know what you talk about, fam. Don't know what you talk about.
Do you need me to explain it?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
This is why I thought the Twilight Drake was potentially a better play, because your opponent isn't going to trade into it, and it's immune to Dragonfire Potion on its own side of the board. So either way, it's going to survive and then probably be able to chip off anything that somehow survives the Dragonfire Potion for the Druid. But the Priest of Feast gave like a way for Hungary to play around AoE, which was weird. Instead, it's going to be followed with just the Bookworm to now start battling for this board.
The adapt that the fletchling gets this turn is actually really important, because next turn may be Portugal's last chance to actually get rid of it. If Penadani doesn't get a way of buffing its health or concealing it somehow, then it's just going to die. Didn't actually get any of them.
Okay, you take the Spores, right?
Yeah, I think you take the Spores because it definitely dies this turn.
Yeah. Well, not even that. You don't want to plus attack because then it can be death.
Yeah, yeah.
So you just leave it at 4 and just take the Spores and say, well, you either AoE and trade into it or it lives. Great.
Obviously, the saving grace for Hungary is, as you said, Living Mana. Next turn, you can just put 7 2/2s on the board, and it doesn't look like Portugal are going to have a way of getting rid of them.
Yeah. Power of the Wild, there's a choice there. Power of the Wild makes the board go a little bit wider in case there's no AoE. What this does is just provide more pressure. If there's AoE, you can just live in mana, like you said. So having this mana available in hand for Penadani just means that it just alters his options so dramatically that you can play Power of the Wild as a 3/2 when you have minions on board, which feels weird, right, as the aggro druid.
Penadani is going to regret going too wide with the Power of the World there, because he did just lose things for free. And in fact, imagine the Power of the World was in hand right now. Penadani could make these trades, put Living Mana on the board, 7 2/2s, and the following turn innovate Power of the World and hit with a bunch of 3/3s. So he may regret that a little bit, though he's still looking okay for the time being.
I mean, to me, this is still an empty Dragon Priest board that you can go wide on Living Mana.
Well, he's got one turn, right? Because there's a certain 8-mana dragon in Dr. Boom's hand, which, if I was Penhadani, I'd be hoping that card's not there.
I mean, is there anything Nether Spike can get? Because otherwise, this is just game.
Yeah.
This is the fear of Living Mana. Once you've used your AoE, it's still 14 damage on the board, 15 with hero power, without buffs. And we can see an innovate, so any buff that is drawn will be usable, but there's already too much damage, and that isn't a taunt.
The thing is, I don't think there are any cheap dragon taunts anymore. There's no Chillmore, there's no Twilight Guardian.
That's true, yeah, there's nothing that could really get the work done, and that is the power. The card called Living Mana's Hungary now go 2-1 up versus Portugal. Portugal were off to a good start, probably feeling great about the match. Now Hungary are fighting back, and are Hungary going to add Portugal to the list of defeated foes to sit alongside their good old friends Greece?
It has to be said, they're doing very, very well for themselves right now, getting ready to claim their 2-0 position at the top of the group, near the top of the group at the very least.
I think they'll be top.
Yeah, I think they will be. Oh, wow. And who'd have thought a year ago that we could make better use of mana crystals than using them every turn? Like, I'd actually just rather put my mana crystals on the board, give them 2 attacks.
If someone told me mana crystals were 2/2 minions, I would have done that a long time ago. Chaincaller going to be versus Ignite, all on Ignite to keep his team in the running here. Ignite, a very, very experienced Hearthstone player I've been aware of and then known Ignite as long as I've been playing Hearthstone, I think. So that's a reasonably long time as well. So he's always at events, knows a lot of the player base, has been playing forever. So this is the kind of player you want in this slot, in this fourth, like, okay, we really need to win this game slot.
Yeah. And he's going to be bringing the Shaman versus Chaincaller's Mage. Now, we've been talking about this a lot recently in the last few weeks, but Shaman can be anything at the moment. It's usually going to be one of the more control-y builds. The Jade ones are the most popular, but exactly what the lists are, card for card, I can tell you. They tend to have a lot of flex spots.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of the time Shaman actually runs Spirit Echoes with a mixture of all the Jade cards because, hey, Jade cards are just good. And some of the elementals like Hot Spring Guardian, and a few more of those, just like, again, the strong elementals, and then use Spirit Echoes to gain a lot of healing alongside Jinyu for the bursty matchups and the aggro matchups, or you can just Spirit Echoes things from below to just create even more free 5/5s.
It's almost the replacement to Bran, isn't it? Because instead of getting double Jades one way, you get it another way. It's more versatile, but harder to pull off because you actually need your minions to die to get their effect a second time.
Hey, it looks like Chaincall is going to just be playing the Discover Mage. We saw Medivh, we saw the Valet, and Medivh and Violence Portal being the big nods to Discover Mage, unless this is a very, very slow Secret Mage, but I genuinely doubt it. 2
of the important cards to have in this matchup as well, because getting this strong late-game presence can really help shut the Shaman down. The problem is, Hungary Chaincaller doesn't actually want to have these cards just yet. He'd rather have drawn them, turn 6, turn 7, when he can actually use them.
Yeah, but you look at the other side of the hand now, especially with Mana Worm, the Arcanologist into Valet is insane. Arcanologist thins your deck, pulls a card out into your hand, so now you know you're not going to draw one of your secrets, so your draws just increase in value as time goes on. Mana Worm, really good aggressive play, but Hungary playing around a little bit with the secret makeup. That is a mana bind into the hand there, so they're not just playing the usual ice block, ice barrier.
And that came from the deck, didn't it?
Yeah, he pulled it with Arcanist.
It did. There's not been any Discover effects. Huh. That is a surprise. I have to just admit that that's a huge surprise. Alexstrasza being picked up. This is a Discover Mage. There's no 2 ways around it. This is a Discover Mage. It's just there's some slightly surprising text. What do you think about Mana Binds? Does it make sense to you?
I like Mana Bind as a card. I liked it as soon as I saw it because you invest early into a secret that can have some like mind game potential for a start, and also you gain a free spell. I did like it more when everyone was trying to make Time Warp work, because that makes even more sense, right?
And Tinnitus Fireball.
You play a secret and then gain a free card that isn't from your deck, so that sounds more reasonable. I don't know how it's going to perform. I think this is a card that will be used at the moment, at least. It's just a trick card, right?
Yeah.
You play a secret, then your opponent plays Lightning Storm. Hey, Lightning Storm against Shaman is actually pretty good, and you get it for free. You will overload, but the spell itself is 0 mana.
I think it's maybe even a card that's better than people are thinking it is, because the few examples I can think of where I've seen it played, I've seen 0 mana Flame Strikes come out of Mana Bind. Yep. I've seen 0 mana Pyroblast. Genuinely.
I've played the Rogue Quest as Mage from Mana Bind.
For free.
So, yeah. It's pretty, oh, you've got 5/5s. Interesting. So have I. I think the problem, though, with Mana Bind in this list is that a lot of the time with this Discover Mage, you need to draw Ice Block. You need to buy that additional turn. Right. You have to. And then if you Arcanologist into Mana Bind, you're like, I just lose, as opposed to this will now gain me my 1 turn to deal enough damage or draw the right card to then win the game. So we'll see if the pros are going to overtake the cons here with this secret as Ignite starts to apply this awkward pressure that Shaman does so well. Oh, some tiny, tiny minions. Flame Tongue. 6 damage out of nowhere.
Now, Flame Tongue is not a common card in the slower Shaman lists that we were describing before, so this is looking more like a mid-rangey, maybe token Bloodlust Shaman, rather than the elemental Jade slow thing that we were talking about before. We've seen the Jade Claws, obviously, but then what Shaman doesn't run Jade Claws now? Exactly.
I think that the funny part with Shaman in terms of the decks at the moment is you could just put a lot of the Shaman cards in a list and it's probably good. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
You put all the token-based stuff, Firefly is just great because Flame Tongue's a card, because Bloodlust's a card. Jade cards are just probably some of the strongest Jade cards in the game outside of maybe Idol for the late game for Druid. But yeah, in general, this is looking really, really strong. Stonehill Defender, though, does give a nod to the Spirit Echoes list. But let's be honest, Flame Tongue, a card I wish was nerfed, to be completely honest. So
I know we've had many discussions about this in the past.
If I played a Shaman deck, I would probably just auto put Flame Tongue in there. Sure. The card's just great. Works with your hero power. What more do you need?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the decks that we've seen over the last few weeks have been so heavy value-based that they just can't afford to put this extra little thing in to deal the damage.
But you can Spirit Echoes a Flame Tongue and just replay it.
You can do that. That is a play that you can make, Raven.
All the value.
Well, and it's in this deck, so I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to be as slow as what we've seen recently, but it's obviously not going to be as fast as what I just described. Lightning Storm is a hint to that, but Stonehill Defender is a bigger hint to that. I wonder what he's hoping to pull from it. Alakir and Hot Spring Guardians being the two... Oh, and Earth Elemental being the 3 taunt Shaman cards that spring to mind.
You're missing one.
I'm missing one.
It's a pretty big one.
Pretty big one.
It's casual White Eyes.
Oh, White Eyes, right. I got that just before you said it.
I actually mouthed it to him silently, so he could try and get there first. I give him a chance.
Get production to back me up on that.
Yeah. So Primordial Glyph going to open up a Frostbolt, and now you start seeing Chaincaller maybe piece together his puzzle here with this mage list. Okay, I have Alexstrasza, I have Frostbolt, a free Frostbolt, a Violence Pole, and a Medivh's Valet. That'd be a lot of burn. But this is what I mean. When you start putting together this plan, a pretty key piece to that puzzle is going to be the Ice Block, right? You need the Ice Block to say, I can Alexstrasza and not worry about dying, then we'll start bursting.
Yeah. Imagine if the Mana Bind picked up a Jade Lightning or something as well. Right?
Yeah.
How much damage is this? Alexstrasza, Frostbolt, Jade Lightning in 1 turn.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's 7 plus however much Alexstrasza does for the answer there.
It does.
You wanted an actual answer to that question.
Thank
How
you.
much damage is this? Frostbolt and Jade Lightning in 1 turn.
Well, Alexstrasza it deals X damage, and then, yes.
X plus 7.
Okay. I can actually coin out Frostbolt as well on the same turn. That's 10. X plus 10, yeah. Thank
Lorinda maths.
Lorinda
maths when Lorinda's not even here, you'd love it.
Thank you, Raven.
He is listening, though. Another Fireball just adds to the thought process behind this plan, I would say. Okay, use it to stay a little bit safe. Again, would you do this? You are a lot of turns away.
Oh,
you're a lot of turns away from Alexstrasza.
Yeah.
So if this was, edging to turn 8 and 9, you would Medivh Alexstrasza go. But because it's not, I think you do have to be wary. There's no Ice Block. So there's no safety precautions here.
Yeah, well, you've definitely given up the illusion that there is an ice block. That's something that I think that play has potentially done. Sacrificing 12 damage is a lot to be throwing out.
Yeah, but against Shaman with so much healing, potentially.
Yeah.
Maybe we've seen players take the route of, I'm going to just kill all your stuff, then win with the Medivh.
Okay.
So there are routes where we've seen, I mean, not what I would probably go with most of the time, but just the removal option. Because look at Finland's Portal, right? Kill your minion, generate a minion of my own. Like, that's actually just pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So it is doable.
And you're right. I think Medivh is going to have to be the main win condition here. If Hungary can get Medivh down and stick, then I guess you just then play Alex and hit in the face with Medivh. If it doesn't stick, then you play Finland's Portal. If that sticks, Alex, hit in the face with the minion you get from Finland's Portal, and so on and so on. So Lightning Storm may actually be a good grab from Mana Bind for Chaincrawler here, because Ignite's gone very, very wide. Lightning Storm will be free. Medivh plus Lightning Storm, well, you lose out on it. Well, I guess you play Storm and then Medivh.
Yeah, and this is what I was saying earlier about the Lightning Storm and about Mana Bind. Well, you look at the AoEs, even Maelstrom isn't that bad.
Yeah.
You know, like, just AoE against Shaman is good. So if this Lightning Storm is played, great. But the problem here is Lightning Storm won't ever go that wide.
Yeah.
It's like Lightning Storm probably won't be played for a long time until maybe we see Medivh plus spell to make the minions. So
well, Lightning Storm plus Maelstrom will deal with
the majority of what's going to be summoned. Yeah. Okay, so Chain calling out. Facing down a bit of a wide board from Ignite and Team Portugal here, has Arcane Intellect to just very simply cycle. You know, just, I'm going to draw 2 cards, see what happens. Has gone for the route for Coin Medivh. This applies pressure onto Ignite. Ignite now, instead of saying, okay, build a board, threaten lethal, so on, is now, I have to deal with Medivh and then consider the outcomes of the Etienne spells.
I really like this play as well because it allows Hungary to curve out perfectly. They've got Medivh into Firelands Portal into Alex Straza. So assuming that something sticks around from the Firelands Portal, there is going to be damage connecting to Ignite's face after Alex Straza has set him to 15.
Yep.
And now Ignite is just trying to decide whether this is worth a Hex or what could come out of the ATS that might be worth a Hex.
It's definitely a tough one because this is the weird thing about Medivh, right? You are always focused on the weapon, right, and the power of Etienne, but Medivh's a 7/7. Like, that dude can punch. You know, he's gonna just gonna whack you in the face and you die. But
with his rod, with his ATS.
Yeah, exactly. Just hit you in the face with the Raven Staff. Yeah. But if you hex it, as you said, you have no idea what's coming out of this staff in terms of minions. They could be even worse than a Medivh, especially when you get to consider cards like, a little bit later on, of course, but like Pyroblast. You just get, you know, a 10 cost. Absolutely crazy.
Such a disappointing taunt from that Stonehill Defender earlier.
Missing a 4/6, I think.
A 7-mana 4/6 do nothing.
Yeah. Not quite Curator.
No. I wonder if... no, I guess Medivh goes into the 4/6 and then the Firelands Portal gets rid of the Stonehill Defender here. I was wondering for a moment if you Firelands Portal and use the Atiyesh to hit the Veclaw, but that seems terrible. So. That seems terrible, yeah.
Medivh's still on 3. It does mean Medivh's going to potentially die to a Lightning Storm, but other than that, I think it's fine.
But then that makes the next turn for Chaincaller, Lightning Storm plus Alex Straza plus use your minion to smack the face. That seems pretty good to me.
Only if there's taunts, though.
Yeah.
Because if there's no taunts, even if there's minions, I don't think you want a 0-mana Lightning Storm with Atiyesh down, because you'll create a 0-mana minion. He's going to swing.
I guess you could make the argument that he doesn't have any other high-value spells in his hand. Or high mana cost, spells in his hand. So I guess Arcane Intellect, and that's about it. Definitely a debatable decision, but he's still got a 7/6 on the board now.
Yeah, now the 5/7, the Thresher Den is going to look pretty good as it death rattles into 3 Murlocs.
3 Murlocs.
Yeah.
That's really, really strong card. Not good enough to see play, but really strong from this position.
Yeah. If you could just generate this card onto the board, you'd be happy.
Yeah.
And there is Mana Bind.
Okay. As predicted about 6 turns ago, it picked up a Lightning Storm.
This is horrible, though. The Fire Elemental can clear up the Medivh. The 1/2 can go into the 4/1, but you Fire Elemental into a minion that auto kills the Fire Elemental.
Yeah.
So you know you are just behind.
Yeah.
There's no matter what you do here.
Well,
Ooh, gonna skip it. Oh, okay, gonna go for double portal
And
into
then trade
clear,
Maelstrom.
and then just. Yeah, this is actually really good. This is way better than what I was looking at. Slightly distracted by the Fire Elemental, just about fitted into that turn.
yeah, no, it's understandable because of how the mana worked out, but this is so good. The second Maelstrom portal will clear up the Murlocs if Ignite even decides he needs to.
One of the frustrations here, Ignite being kind of lucky that he got the egg there, because he's going wide on a board that he knows his opponent's just got a Lightning Storm to, which is kind of frustrating. But now, never mind.
Okay, well now Hungary are at a crossroads because they're almost definitely going to play the Alexstrasza. I think that goes without saying. But then what do? Do you play Lightning Storm this turn and let the Atiesh summon a Wisp? Or do you hold the Lightning Storm, next turn play Pyroblast, summon a 10-mana minion?
You go face Pyroblast next turn.
Yeah.
I think you can wait.
Yeah.
You have Ice Block. And what are the odds on actually just dying here? You know, from these minions. When you have Alex down as well, you've already you've not seen any hexes yet, so you know you might be a little bit worried about Alex just getting shut down.
Well, yeah, I stand corrected. Okay. That's not an Alexstrasza.
So Chaincoil is going to go just to get a little bit more burn available.
Ooh.
And Cobra, not bad.
That is a significant amount of extra burn damage. A Medivh Valet and a Fireball. There's no secret on the board yet, which means the Medivh Valet kind of costs 5 because you've got to play the barrier as well. Though Hungary have set up the barrier in advance, they're hoping it doesn't proc this turn.
Okay, so the problem with the Alex play is that you're a little bit open to dying, of course, or you just don't have enough burn. If Alex is hexed, then you go Pyro, then you just have Frostbolt.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually just not lethal. Yeah. So, let's go for the slightly safer route here, which is absolutely fine. Now Ignite's going to discover that it is Ice Barrier and work out what he wants to do here. Devolve in Ignite's hand. Not really going to get too much value against this mage deck, to be honest.
Nah, given that there's been a Hex sitting there doing nothing for such a long time, I haven't seen an opportunity where Devolve would have been good, apart from maybe that turn after the Medivh. But the Lightning Storm plus double Maelstrom cleaned that up nicely. Devolve not actually going to do all that much. Second Firelands portal coming from Hungary here. Is this the Alexstrasza turn? Alexstrasza's just looking a bit weaker than last time to me.
Well, I think it's the Lightning Storm turn. You could potentially Lightning Storm, almost clear everything, and then Alexstrasza afterwards.
No, because the Overload. If he plays Lightning Storm now, he actually won't be able to play Alexstrasza next turn.
Oh, you could play it this turn if you cleared. Right?
Oh, you mean before? Before the Violence portal?
Yeah. I mean, you could have Lightning Storm if the Storm hit the Flame Elemental for 3, then the Archaeologist trades into the Flame Elemental, the Fire Elemental, sorry, and then you just play Alex on top of that on an empty board almost.
I'm with you now. I was already looking at the Firelands portal, which has been played.
It's so shiny.
So next turn, though, Alexstrasza plus Lightning Storm probably will be the play. That Flame Tongue Totem's definitely going to pick up some value here.
Told you, Flame Tongue Totem, good card.
Yeah. Clearly.
With the Runic Egg as well, going to get Ignite, draw 1 additional card. Going to be pretty nice. Can effectively clear the board if he really wants to. Second Hex?
Okay, so that Alexstrasza isn't going to survive for very long, regardless of what happens. But the damage is going to be done at that point. There's no healing in Ignite's hand. There's no Jinyu. There's no Hot Springs Guardian. There's no... Well, there's nothing.
I wonder if you use a Hex now.
What to do?
Because what's your second Hex for, is my question. Against this mage deck.
Yeah.
You've dealt with Medivh and everything that's come out of the Atiesh. You have 1 Hex for Alexstrasza. They don't run anything else, normally. Yes, there's nothing stopping them putting Antonidas in the deck as well, but it just isn't likely. It's just not the way the deck's built.
Yeah, he's been holding on to them to the first one at least, for a very long time. It just looks like there's 3 completely useless cards in Ignite's hand.
And it also looks like Ignite is playing the minimal elemental shaman. I'm going to start calling it the minimalist version, because he's not played Flame Elemental because he wants to draw the Kalymos.
The dodgy thing about that is that, great, you draw Kalymos next turn, it requires a turn to set it up. You can't just drop Flame Elemental and Kalymos the same turn. You have to play one.
It is better than playing the Flame Elemental, not drawing Kalymos, then drawing Kalymos, and you're like, well, I guess I lose.
Granted, yeah. But now things are looking pretty good for Chaincaller. This game is over very, very soon, unless Kalimos does get picked up immediately. That's why Ignite has now gone ahead and played the Flame Elemental, because he realizes Alexstrasza's come down. If I'm not dead this turn, Kalimos is my out. I need to prepare for it now.
This wouldn't be the first time in global games where we've seen Kalimos off the top with a Flame Elemental setup and then healing out of range of burst damage. But here comes the Lightning Storm. Not much Ignite can really do. Like, he's not like, oh, I can't play minions anymore because he has a Lightning Storm. That's not how the game works.
All right. 5 health left, Ignite.
Hot Spring.
That's not good enough. There's a Fireball, plus a Medivh's Valet, plus a Frostbolt in Chaincaller's hand, and a Primordial Glyph.
Yeah, and Ignite probably knows that's not good enough. You often, look at all the celebrations already from Hungary. They're going to be looking fantastic, but you know, if Pyroblast goes face, your opponent has follow-up. That's just the way you play, right? So the odds on him not having enough burn to outdo the Hot Spring Guardian was very, very slim, but congratulations to Hungary. The team has made it, going 3-1 versus Portugal. So now they are 2-0 in groups, and they beat out Greece and Portugal on the way, two of the stronger teams in the group.
They've definitely come into the global games as one of the underdogs, one of the lesser known teams, and look at them go. 2-0 so far. It looks at this stage like they're almost certain to get through the first section of the competition. And
I mean, they could still lose 3 games.
They could, but I don't know. I think it looks like Hungary are going to build a name for themselves now.
Yeah, they did lose the Mage versus Rogue matchup with that secret Mage from Ginger right at the beginning, but then boom, 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 3-0. One of those was with Warlock as well.
Yeah, that can't feel good. That can't feel good at all. Losing 3-1 and having one of the losses being against class number 9.
Yeah, it was really interesting as well that the Warlock would have either hit whatever the Warrior was or the Druid, but then when you go into like Warrior Mirrors, that's kind of awkward as well, and they were probably, it's kind of the old bait and switch.
Right.
Your opponent's got Druid and Warrior, you've got Warrior, they're probably going to play Druid because it's actually okay against Pirates, and you beat Control Warrior almost all the time, so there's very favored matchups. They're going to pick Druid, Zoo. It's actually a very interesting pairing.
Yeah. Here is the Rogue versus Secret Mage game that we saw right back at the start of the series, where Secret Mage was just able to take it, completely out-tempoed the Rogue, and yeah, took that one away quite easily.
Yeah, Hungary got off to a pretty slow start with that Rogue list, but then they sped up their matches a little bit, going into the Zoo list and just overrunning Cereza on the Druid, just having no early enough ramp, no good early Jade minions to put onto the board. Imagine the game if Jade Spirits came out early, one Jade Behemoth could have changed a few things, wasn't to be though.
And Hadani able to completely take over the board in the early game with the Vicious Fletchling, and then just turning his mana crystals into minions, saying, "Priest, can you deal with this?" The answer was no.
A pretty big no indeed there. Hungary now, as we just saw, finishing up the game versus Ignite. Ignite just ran out of juice, basically, towards the mid-game. He ended up just playing a Flame Elemental onto the board, hoping that Kalimos is drawn post-Alexstrasza to then heal back up again. But we see the power of Medivh into Etiesh means that, there was Lightning Storm, a Maelstrom used the whole turn, clears the board, yes, does nothing else at that point.
We've seen a lot less Discover Mage recently as the other Mage archetypes form and come back. But as you say, just we're reminded of the power of the archetype. And I think specifically the power of Alexstrasza. Setting a hero to 15 health, if they don't have any healing, that's it. The game ends soon after that.
Yeah, we've definitely been seeing the weakness though. When Mage runs into Priest, it's almost unwinnable. I think at that point, Shaman's more of an up in the air matchup because the healing is much less reliable. But it is there, so there is a chance that it could have been healed up. But no, it wasn't to be. And Hungary are going to take the series. And like I said, go 2-0 up. They're going to be feeling great. Portugal, though, lost to Greece last week. Lost to Hungary this week. They're currently 1-2 in groups. Are still in it. They can win the next 2 games. They can, I think, potentially win the next 1 game, lose 1 if the scores are right. But we can see how the group matches up there. My team, South Korea, second place at the moment is 2-1. Hungary 2-0 though, with a pretty good game score, 6-3.
It's not been an easy few games for Portugal. Even the series they did win, it was 3-2. It was a reverse sweep against Hong Kong. So it's not like any of their games have been that straightforward or that easy. They've got a lot of work to do to get themselves back into the top half of the bracket, into the groups rather, and into a position where they can advance to the next stage.
Yeah, but Hungary, just yet another team's coming out strong, 2-0 so far, beating two of the countries that are extremely well known for Hearthstone in the European scene as well. So absolutely huge for those. So congratulations to them. We're getting ready for our next series now, so don't go anywhere. We've got Finland versus Italy coming up after this.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ongoro Crater.